Thanks, Marty, for putting together an incredibly good conference. We're really excited to be here in Boulder. Oh, and if you're watching this and you hate your job, we are hiring San Francisco, New York, Singapore, and Boulder.
Now, I made the cardinal mistake of modifying my slides up until, well, now. So I may have a couple of moronic moments where I stare out off into space and start drooling. Don't worry, it won't be too long before I get back on track. So yeah, my talk is on the pioneering theme of don't bring a gun to a sword fight. You know, would you try to spoon a buffalo? Real spoon. Get your minds out of there. What would you do? So this talk is really about the steps that you would take to find, what would you say, the right tool for the job or the best tool for the job. So title says don't bring a sword to the gunfight, but hey, sometimes maybe that is the right tool. It could be the right tool for the job. It depends on the tool you're evaluating. So the generalized statements don't always apply. My goal for this talk is for you to leave here with a few laughs, some personal questions to answer. I do like men. And for you to go back and rethink the basics of how you approach problems. The content here is going to seem extremely obvious. It's going to seem like common sense to you. However, as Voltaire said, common sense is not so common. I have 5 points that I wish to review with you. Please bear with me for these points. And of course, I'm the RVM guy, known by my tool. How sad. The primary example for this talk will be RVM. Wait a minute, RVM, Royal Victoria Marathon. Oh no, those cute little shoes. Oh my God, they come in blue. What is RVM? Raise your hand if you have not used RVM before. Come on, hands up. Awesome, we've got some non-RVM using people here. That's good, that's very encouraging. Now, stand up and make some noise if you do use RVM. Tooting my own horn. It kind of gets a little bit of fanaticism on Twitter. And these are the clean ones. I have no idea what duck's nuts are, but I'm told it's an Australian thing by my Ruby Summer of Code mentee, Darcy Laycock. And yes, that is his last name. It was awkward. So anyways, what does the right tool for the job mean? What does that mean? I mean, does it mean technical superiority? The best tool, the one that solves a problem at hand in the best manner possible, technically speaking? For example, if I was trying to kill a fly in my house, I would totally grab the railgun. Is it based on common team experience? Because we all know we run around having Hello Kitty wars in the office. Regardless of its suitability for the problem space or the office space. Is the best tool the one with a minimal learning curve? Is it the one you could just pick up and you know what to do with it right away and you could just start running at the problem? Is that it? Well, hold on a second. Why are we trying to pick a tool in the first place? What are we doing? Well, clearly we have a problem to solve. Of course, couches and many hours have not solved mine, but here we're talking more about technical problems in this talk. Most people will simply jump right out at the problem, and they'll start coding or hacking or trying to solve it right away. They're like, I know what this is, I can solve it. Stop. Don't do that. I need everybody to just take a step back. When you've got a problem to solve, you're trying to accomplish something, stop. Step back. Think it through. All right? So in that vein, I am going to try to explore really quickly in this talk what we're all very familiar with since childhood, and namely the 5 steps of problem solving. Now, some of you may have 6 in there, some of you may have 4. As long as you solve the problem and kind of work these in there, you should be good. So what's the first step of problem solving? Well, you want to define the problem, right? You have to define the problem you're trying to solve. Because if you don't know what you're trying to solve, if you don't have the first clue about the problem, you're not going to be able to solve it, right? It's just not going to happen. From the book, The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, we obtain the following quote. When faced with a problem you do not understand, do any part of it that you do understand, and then look at it again. To me, I personally grok this as, define the pieces of the problem, and it will lead to defining the whole problem, right? So you need to focus on the problem. You need to define and visualize what you are trying to affect. What are we going to do tonight, Brian?
Same thing we do every night, Pinky. We're going to take over the world.
Something like that. Anyways, if you cannot clearly formulate your problem, then either you have a horrible speech impediment, or you just simply won't solve it either. So, as I said, the canonical example for this talk is RVM. The problem definition originally was that we had 3 applications that we had. One of them ran on JRuby. It was an ETL, and we needed the ODBC drivers and a few other nice things that are available on JRuby to extract from this evil MS SQL database, which doesn't have any indexes and uses 5,000 limit character fields for state abbreviation codes. Anyways, moving beyond that. Another one we wanted to run, it was on 1.8, so we obviously wanted to run on Ruby Enterprise Edition because it has some very nice amenities to 1.8. And the third project was 1.9. So this was our initial problem definition. All right? It seems simple enough, right? Very simple. Step 2 in the problem-solving process is that you essentially want to understand the problem. What are we doing? Basically, take the problem definition, dissect it into all of its constituent pieces that you can think of. Once you have this refined list, run it by your coworkers. You know, they won't laugh at you, I swear. Essentially, they usually find these nuances or edge cases for requirements that you didn't even think of. And mine did, very much. Just because they usually tried to do something that I didn't think of. So, the RVM example again, we broke down the problem definition, which was we wanted to use these 3, okay? Applications on 3 different interpreters easily. Well, we actually had more requirements than that. And this is a short list. We had more than this, but here's the short, important list. We wanted to maintain 3 or more applications across 6 different environments. We had production, development, QA, CI, demo, all kinds of environments. We had many, many servers, all right? I think we had 82 servers or something like that. We have all the developers on the team, we have like 7 developers, had their own development machines. We wanted that to be satisfied as well. Different Ruby interpreters. I already covered that. Manage incompatible gems. So gems with C extensions would not be compatible for 1.8 to 1.9. All right? Pure Java gems obviously are not going to be running in the 1.8, 1.9 track, right? So those just were not working for us. Bootstrapping the environments easily. That was also a requirement. We needed to be able to have a new server come up and easily set up our environments. And we needed to be able to switch between any of these environments and when we were developing very easily. So step 3 in solving the problem is you want to go and you want to find all your solutions. What kind of tools do we have out there that are going to satisfy our problem definition, our broken down problem statement? We want to gather all of these, gather as many resource URLs on them as we can so that we can make educated decisions. You want to scry the internet. You want to go out there and search long and hard. Go beyond the first page of results for each. Find everything you can. You really need to be creative with your solutions. Don't just limit yourself to the first things you find. Don't limit really to anything at this point, mostly. These days, you can very easily ask your community for solutions they know about. You will often be very surprised by their knowledge, enthusiasm, and response time. Enjoy this process, okay? Our community, especially in IRC and like the mailing lists and Twitter, excellent resource. Do it. Use them. Some solutions, of course, will be rejected right away. For example, your boss might come to you and say something along the lines of, to cut down the mightiest tree in the forest, use a hitting. All I can say here is, in these kind of situations, you should just present the facts to them, the requirements list that you gathered. Most people are rational. For those that are not rational, of course, you usually kind of just sit there and smiling, nodding, while thinking other things. Okay? But we know exactly how to deal with these people, don't we? I mean, really. Cherry-flavored enemas go a long way. So, back to our RVM example. The problem definition, again, we have the simplified that one there. I didn't have enough room on the slide to put the full list. But what solutions did we find when we were searching all over? We found something called Ruby Switcher. This was actually a very nice little script. It did a very good job. It was limited scope. Only a few rubies. Okay, I think they had a 1.8 and 1.9 basically. Multi-ruby. Multi-ruby, again, bundled in, I think, Zen-Test or Autotest or something like that. This one had a little more choice on the interpreters you can go on. And it still had the fundamental limitations of scope that we wanted. It didn't meet all of our refined problem statement. We found lots and lots of manual or little scripts that basically operated on like symlinking and naming schemes, prefixes, postfixes, all kinds of stuff. It didn't quite achieve what we were trying to go for, which was simplicity overall, ease of use. Of course, you can manually install in Symlink as you go, as you switch environments. Now, this is an awesome recipe for carpal tunnel syndrome. I recommend it for anybody that really wants to get out of work benefits. You know, surgeries are awesome, aren't they? Or we could write our own. Writing your own, always a possibility. However, remember, it's going to be more work than you anticipate. RVM was more work than I ever imagined. Ever. So now I'm going to take a brief little intermission so that I can wet my palate. This is not scotch, I swear. All right, so thank you for the break. I really needed that. Getting all parched up here. So, step 4 in the problem-solving process. The fourth step in this process is to evaluate all these possible solutions that you found. I apologize if that offended anyone. I just couldn't help myself. Each of the solutions you found, you essentially want to go and you want to play with it. Okay? Play with it. Does it fulfill the technical requirements while you're playing with it? Does it? Really? All right. Does it have a common team experience? Does everybody on your team or the majority of your team have experience with a solution? Do they understand it? Do they know how it works? You know, like the last time you guys were all in an office dogfight? I mean, really. Do you know about the solution already? Or is there going to be a learning curve with it? Right? So, again, is there a learning curve with it? That has to be factored in as well. Along with all these list of resource URLs you're coming up with for your different solutions, you want to kind of list all these different aspects of it as well. Remember also, and I am horribly guilty of this one, even if the solution is written in a familiar language, this does not guarantee that it is well written. This does not guarantee that it is maintainable. This does not guarantee that it is easily extensible. This does not guarantee that it is easy to use. This does not guarantee that it is comprehensible, that you can read the code and understand what's going on. Because Ruby is such a beautiful, flexible language that, excuse my expression, can completely mind-fuck you if you try to read some of these people's code. They could do some of the wildest and wonderfulest things that you will not even begin to understand. And sometimes I question whether they understand it as well. Not to knock Ruby. It is awesome. Once you have the now you have all these solutions laid out. You need to evaluate them, right? When you, once they're all laid out, you want to choose the one that appears right for the job based on the results of the evaluation process. If you have two solutions that fulfill the requirements, then follow the principle of Occam's razor, which essentially states that the best solution will be the simplest one. Again, back to RVM. For us, it ended up being to write our own. While it is always possible to write your own, remember, it's not always the best one, and it takes a lot of time. Once you have this chosen solution, you want to solve the problem. You want to begin working with your selected solution. After working with it for a bit, you may completely realize that one of the other solutions was superior. Do not be afraid to switch to the next best solution during your evaluation process. Make sure you learn from this process. Always keep the goal in mind. RVM became the right tool because we essentially went through each of the requirements and made sure it satisfied it. I'm not saying that RVM is the right tool for all your Ruby jobs. However, there's some sort of like fanatical thing going on around on Twitter about it that I don't fully understand. It blew up more than I understood. I do not have time for another example. However, I'll make this a lightning talk. Boop, 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 boop. Teaser! In conclusion, I want to specify the points, the subtle points I tried to lace through this talk, okay? Do not take away from this talk the right solution is always your own. It's not, okay? Take notice specifically of the community involvement in this process. We have a unique and awesome community. Include them as they are an invaluable resource. Remember that we're all in this together. Even if we're not working on the same problems, most of us will benefit from helping others with their problems. All of us will. Take the time to step back from your work. Think through the steps I outlined here. Both you and your work will be better for it. Be creative with solutions. Do not limit yourself. Often combining different solutions for their strengths will yield a better solution. Learn from and enjoy this process. It'll make your work far more enjoyable. If your work is enjoyable, your life is enjoyable. Share the experience with others. You will learn through teaching. Very true. Now go forth, accomplish your goals, have fun about it.